awesome time, and I feel like we must get sort of right to it with our Age of Brilliance and bringing in Mynoo Maryel. Last week, we hit 6 of the very important points of our portal of liberation. And so Mynoo promises to be back here, same bat time, same bat channel, to get the last 6, or the second set of 6, I should say. So we are going to be doing that. And again, we're so grateful to introduce Mynoo Maryel, who is indeed going to bring us something quite special tonight. I feel that we can all use it, or utilize it, I should say, and I in particular. So I am ready to turn the talking stick to you, Mynoo, the incense and the candle, and we shall, out here in Mynoo land, be quiet and receive.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Sunny, I have been talking about that time between the summer solstice and the 25th of July was quite an intense period of recalibration and readjustment, where our physical body would be playing catch up quite rapidly. Then, particularly where it will show up is our cerebral spinal fluid not moving as in sync with the changes our body is going through. So being out of balance and out of harmony and all of that can occur. But today is the 25th for where I am. I know it's still the 24th for all of you, but for me, here it is the 25th. So it really does feel like I have like a happy smiley face in my heart. And I know you had a little bit of a trip and a fall. It really is just a reflection of this, what is going on. So let's step back into the portal of liberation. And Sunny, as I'm talking, if something shows up, you can interrupt it. My flow will be fine. Okay. So just as a very quick recap, let me just go back. We are actually looking at the 12 anchors of liberation. And each anchor removes a chain. It restores your natural frequency. It activates time collapse by aligning you with the now of your brilliance. And that is this alignment to the now of our brilliance is like a hallmark of the age of brilliance. That's why I just love the age of brilliance. In terms of, it really does bring us home to who we truly are. And that is the space that you operate from. It's also worth reconnecting to what anchoring liberation actually means. It is to make freedom your new default setting. A lived-in embodiment, not a peak experience. Not I am free, but actually experiencing that beautiful sense of inner harmony. You're no longer triggered by what once controlled you. You're not seeking permission to exist. You're free to move, you speak and choose and create from source, which resides within you as your spark of consciousness. Anchored liberation is what activates coherence and that limitless expression. And both of these together, combined with the purity of our intention, enable time collapse. So we've talked about the anchors of I am already free. Release to receive. Neutral is power. Completion is liberation. Choice over chains. And the last one that we stopped at was no thing owns me. Continuing on from there, we are entering the realm of permission from within. Permission it's really important to understand permission itself as a word. Permission is giving yourself the permit to be on your mission. So before it would be like we are waiting for some external approval. And that gets that inner voice within us to keep interrupting us taking that step forward, where the little voice goes, it's not perfect yet, not yet, not perfect yet. And we keep wanting to tinker and change and adapt and stuff. And we use words like procrastination or distraction. But really what is going on is this. We haven't given ourselves the permit to be on our mission. There's a body of work that I do that many of you here have done with me. And the body of work is uncovering your autopilot saboteur, the one that is programmed in your subconscious, the saboteur that interferes with us being able to stay on course. And we keep experiencing a curveball hit over and over. And then that takes us away from, being connected to the knowingness that we all, each and all of us, have a soul mission. And if we are not on mission, it is really nothing to do with anything around us. It really is to do with us. It is our permission that is called for. And once you understand that permission is, simply saying, okay, you have the permit. Go forth, live your mission. That's all that's required. And suddenly, all of these invisible external forces that we have been waiting for, as if they just disappear. Clarity becomes our new norm. And being in action around that becomes our modus operandi. So after you've given yourself that permission, it's as if you reclaim your inner authority and it guides you. The challenge that you may experience is the challenge of releasing our attachment to other people's opinions. Wanting to look good, feel good, be validated by, or feel we are entitled to. Releasing the attachment to all of this is the main challenge that you may have to overcome. And the benefit of doing that is radiance, a radiant confidence with bold action. How do we accomplish this with a simple daily practice? I say just rather than, we all have, many of us do, have a plan that we wish to accomplish. And we sometimes also allocate dates to those plans. And so they are like goals that we are aspiring for. Break those down. Have what is it that you are going to accomplish today? And give yourself permission by declaring it. So declare daily, I give myself permission to. So, I mean, I sort of have like fast tracked it. I give myself permission to realize and experience everything that I choose to believe in. So that way I'm reclaiming choice. I'm also saying to myself that I am worthy. So I'm reclaiming that connection and reconnection to dignity by giving myself permission to realize and experience everything that I choose to believe in. The impact, the time collapse impact of doing that is procrastination vanishes. And you just keep taking that next step next. I shared a little compilation video of what I've been up to here for the last 4 weeks in Saudi Arabia. And many of you, when you watch it, you'll see that there is quite a big contingent, of young women, and they are all. And we've been working with them to emerge as flourishing leaders, and almost all, with the exception of 3, I think, young women had all you can see is their eyes. And really, what I saw here happening was, first of all, that each one is so brilliant in what they are focused on. In that audience, we had doctors, the first woman, young a CEO under 25 was there, and she was a medical doctor. Engineers, rocket scientists, computer science graduates, architects, a whole variety of women were there. And really, the flourishing element that started to emerge within them happened in the first week. My first week was all about reconnecting each person to their own inner brilliance and getting them to follow through and walk the 7 pathways to transform anxiety into awesomeness. And just by the way life occurs in this part of the world, men here are very clear. They provide for their women. Women don't have to do anything if they don't choose to. And if they choose to, they can. But men will provide nonetheless. So there is a very high degree of, accountability that men hold. And they almost start to operate like they have no choice in that matter. They are to provide, and they are totally fine and proud of that. Women, on the other hand, are like, okay, we are going to choose exactly how we are going to show up. So it was very, very interesting initially. In the first week, it looked like the guys made tremendous progress by really defining what they appreciate about themselves, what they love about themselves, how they choose to show up. And what does it mean to live the life they love? There were like really elaborate visions were there. The kind of anxieties that they were dealing with were very, very different than the kind of anxieties that women brought up. But literally by the middle of the second week, I think permission from within got anchored. Self-liberation became the foundation upon which every student was standing on. And, everything shifted. Like the girls were, I mean, they still felt safe to not show their faces. And I totally respected that. But the kind of projects they took on, and their vision boards, because I did not get them to do their vision boards until the end of the second week, after I had taught them the 7 habits of inspired leadership. Each one constructed a game, and then it was like neck to neck. And we had competitions that we had kept. At the end of each week, there was always a winner. And really, the whole idea was for the people to get comfortable with playing a game rather than becoming too attached to the win itself. The idea of playing the game isn't about winning and losing, whilst that is an intention of the game. It is also encouraging the winners to do even better and being open to learning from the winner and perfecting your game for the next time around. And it became like literally neck to neck competition between the boys and the girls. And it was this anchor. The moment that anchor was laid, permission from within, everything shifted. Procrastination or various reasons why something needed to wait before something else could be done just disappeared. The 8th anchor. Shall I continue, Sunny?
Yeah.
Okay. The 8th anchor is that truth ends tyranny. So the way it shows up before scenario is that you feel trapped. You feel trapped. You feel in denial. You're in avoidance. You're constantly self-editing and not coming out with it. I mean, I have to say, it's really terrific for me to be, to have taken on the challenge of getting my book and my bodies of work out there in the form of a book. Like Flow, which is my latest one. I don't have any books left here anymore, so it isn't displayed. But that was like 30 plus years of work of mine. Lots of opportunity to continually self-edit. It's like, I'm not entirely ready yet. It isn't fully complete yet. Yeah, I could keep waiting. I mean, it was like, okay, I have to add some of these nuances of the age of brilliance, but I don't really need to do that. That all of that can be in another book. But I realized that this piece of, avoidance of getting this body of work out and constantly self-editing by saying, no, that there is a little bit more that I need to incorporate. There's a little bit more I need to incorporate. That stuff has completely dissolved for me. Because when I say, okay, my next book is coming out, my son and his book team get ready and start lining up the book promoters and stuff. And there are like so many steps. Writing a book is one thing. Then getting it out into the world is like at least 3 to 5 times more in terms of number of tasks and timelines that have to be adhered to. But this whole avoidance and trapped in denial and self-editing then just disappears and goes away. And now I know that I can do it. I think the Flow book was the right one to be doing as the first of the trilogy of business books. Even though this was the book that I had not written at all. The one that is nearly complete, which is what I thought I was going to come out with, is called Unstuck, which is the 7 pillars of extraordinary results. And my intuitive guidance was, no, not yet. That will be the 3rd book. So I have a second one, which I haven't written yet. And now I'm learning to trust. Because I know the time collapse reality of following my intuitive guidance. So if you feel that there's some action that you are to take, and it has been taking you a while to get going and getting across the finish line, the main thing is the power that we have available to us at this time, particularly as you step into the portal of liberation, is getting across the finish line, the power of getting across the finish line. And if you don't use it, it's as if you're standing on somewhere and being very rigid to digging your heels in, but the floor underneath you is moving so fast that without you doing anything, you might trip and find yourself physically tripping and falling. So just be very, very conscious and aware and look at where you have been self-editing and preventing yourself from getting across the finish line. Now, the payback of the after scenario, once you take this on, in terms of really seeing the truth for what it is, you bring an end to your own tyranny. Nobody else is applying that on you. So really what happens is radical honesty starts to fuel your expansion. And who are you? You are a soul being, right? You're a soul being having a human experience. A soul being that is limitless, eternal, indestructible, unstoppable. It shall expand. The age of brilliance really enables us to operate from a soul space. And we have been working with, beyond meditation for so many years now. Most of you here have been a part of that, harmonizing the soul presence in our human form. So we have been prepared and ready for this time. The challenge that you may experience is facing the consequences of the truth. So if there's something that you have been procrastinating about, like for me, with the flow book, facing the consequences of the truth. I was so comfortable about, I have such a in-depth grasp of leadership and how it is evolving. And that evolution of the paradigm of leadership is necessary because we've entered a new realm altogether. And I'm the one that has got the finger on the pulse and I know what's occurring. And here I am, putting in everything that I know about leadership into a book. The consequences of doing that is, it's like, okay, it's not a work in progress, continual work in progress anymore. It's really declaration of, this is what I know and this is how this body of work has evolved. And these are the changes that are occurring in the world that will call for ongoing evolution. Now you have the baton. Continue the relay race of your own leadership. And it literally, I felt, it was weird. I felt like a release of this identity of that I had given myself, that I'm like to be the one that really knows about this leadership stuff. And it's cutting edge, more than what anybody else could possibly even get close to. Well, even that was taking my liberation away, even having that identity, So it is important to understand this. This is where, a practice that you can take on for yourself is looking at, before you take action from a choice that you make, understand the consequence of that action and choose that consequence. So if there is a response that you are to give to someone or something, or if you are to challenge someone or something, or some institution that might be, doing something or might have done something that was not what you expected, and you've got it, that you've got to challenge that. If you progress, if you don't challenge it, what is the consequence of it? The consequence could be that you are depleting your own life force and continuing to, you know, anchor lack of clarity. Now, are you going to be able to declare that as the consequence that you are choosing? Are you going to be able to say, I choose to deplete my life force and, create fog rather than clarity, holding myself back from moving forward in my life? So if you can just declare that I choose to do that and it feels fine and yummy in your body, go ahead, do it. But standing in the portal of liberation, it literally does release you and gives you the confidence to see the consequence and choose the consequence before you take action. And that comes from really dealing with this challenge of facing the consequence of the truth. The benefit of doing it is you have a clean conscience. That clean conscience is the trigger for exponential integrity within yourself. So sometimes it may, a practice that may be called for is saying the unsayable in a mirror or in a journal. Being able to express whatever unsaid communication you may have with a proxy. And I know that some of you were there during the immersion we just did in California, and you saw the power of saying and sharing your unsaid communication. The time collapse impact. I mean, this is the power of this particular portal, liberation portal. Every anchor has a time collapse impact. The time collapse impact of this one, truth versus tyranny, is illusion collapses. You're anchored, you're in harmony, you are stationed in pure potential of what your soul can accomplish in its expression through your human form. So your pure potential emerges. And you start operating at soul speed. God's speed is soul speed. Sunny, is there anything showing up for you that you want to share?
Yes, thank you. I wanted to add in the concept of the ripple effect. So when you're talking about, I love this, looking at the consequence, seeing it, choosing it. Sometimes we don't know what it is because there is a ripple effect with most everything I can think of. So what do you say? What say you about that?
The ripple effect of the consequence. Right.
Of the action. Well, the ripple effect of the action that we
Yeah.
take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what happens is before you take action, you consider the consequence and you declare to choose that consequence, then you are fully aware of the ripple effect on
Oh,
you and others.
okay.
Like I'm just looking at myself, right? So here I am, broke my arm and everything, and then took on a complete transformation in my lifestyle and diet, so that medicine-free, this arm can repair itself. And it landed up repairing itself much faster than even the doctors had predicted, which is brilliant. Here I come in Saudi Arabia, and you can go to a supermarket and buy a few vegetables and some fruit. You know, the right now it's the season of figs and raw dates, so you can buy those too. They are the local ones, and everything else is imported. And I'm in the mountainside. I'm not in any of the major big towns in that we hear about. But this is a big town, but it's in the mountains. This is where a lot of the farming and all that happens here as well. So there is very limited vegetables and fruits available. You can get them, but they're not available in abundance. And here I am doing an intense 4-week summer camp. So I don't necessarily have all the time in the world to be chopping my salads and making my broths and all that, right? So we do often at least one meal a day has been outside, in a restaurant or a cafe or stuff. And when you go out, there's very little vegetarian food. And even in vegetarian food, there is practically no vegetables. A bowl of salad will have lots of fried bread on it. And we went to this fabulous restaurant and we ordered the salad, fattoush, which is a great Lebanese salad. And I told them, because I realized at this point that fattoush has got fried bread. It's a part of the salad. So I said to him, give me the fried bread separately. And I get a bowl with maybe 5 or 6 pieces of lettuce, half a tomato and some big chunky, cuttings of cucumber. That's it. So it's like a tiny little bowl. And there's very little vegetables. There aren't, all of the other salads just don't have vegetables. They have got some meat, sliver of meat or the other. So I go ahead and, order all of this, whatever there is. Pretty much wherever we would go, we would order whatever is available. That's vegetarian, right? Then we discovered that actually you also have Italian restaurants, which are very, very good Italian restaurants. You go to an Italian restaurant, you can get a bowl of salad, and then you have pizzas. Great recipe for the base of pizzas. Very yummy. I mean, I don't know when was the last time I had a pizza, but everything is laden with layers of cheeses. So here I am like, oh my God, So every time I would look at this stuff and say, okay, well, I could choose to fast. I could. And I'll continue to experience the consequence of autophagy, right? And I didn't necessarily choose that because I'm doing this intense brain work um, that is being called forth to deliver, and that became my excuse for going with the flow and giving myself the permission to eat whatever is available rather than push myself to get up in the morning and chop and boil and all that stuff. But there is a consequence to that, which is, my inflammation markers will be high by the end of the 4 weeks. So doing it in a way where I'm seeing the consequence and I'm declaring I choose that consequence was not pleasant, Sunny, right? But at least I wasn't a victim that, oh my God, look, there are no vegetables. I have to eat this. There was no have to, need to. It was like, okay, I can choose to get up. I get up early anyway. I can choose to put my energy into this stuff to nourish and nurture myself. But I chose not to. Yes, it has a consequence. And I did declare that I choose that consequence because I'm going to be away in Berlin for 4 weeks in nature, lots of walks, forests and stuff like that. That I'm going to make up for it.
Is there also a vibe of when in Rome? I mean, literally, meaning being in the like what people would say to Americans when they go to India or they go to a place, Mexico or something like that, where the biome, the bacteria is so different, then when you try to have a cheeseburger in India, like just please don't do that. So is there some benefit to sort of eating the beef in Saudi Arabia and in Riyadh and, kind of what they do, their spices and things to just kind of, again, be in Rome and it's maybe okay, or maybe, you know what I mean? Like just kind of celebrate where you are.
I mean, I took that on in that way for
I mean,
myself.
I'm imagining that's what
Yeah,
you would
yeah,
teach. Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, if the reality is, I am like whatever 3,000 meters above sea level, so it's quite significant above sea level, right? So, and I do my breathing exercises. I do not have shortness of breath, and I have shortness of breath here. And I'm sure it is because my system was so used to not being clogged at all, for those many 3 months or so of absolute anti-inflammatory way of eating, that I'm sure that is also enabling my system to be clogged.
So
But
when
I've
I'm
had to
thinking, oh,
look
sorry.
myself in the mirror, Sunny, and say, okay, I choose to deplete my health and, greatly diminish um, the amazing benefits I had of 3 months. It was not pleasant, right?
Well, I'm
But
thinking of
it did
those
allow me
kind
to
of,
take accountability, even of the ugly part of
yeah. I'm
the
thinking of
health.
those kind of ripple effects, but I'm also thinking of your book. In other words, I'm thinking of those, a pastor or a preacher or a singer, who does beautiful work, we do whatever our work is. And again, as Sister Teresa of Avila would say, if you're kind of concerned about what your effect is, go back in the kitchen and peel more potatoes. Like we're meant to just do our best, go for it, all of that. And then there is a ripple effect, right? Also, for example, with your books and, this kind of thing. So I
Yeah,
was thinking along those lines as well.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, because I was very present to, okay, this feels like it's going to be really cool. There I am for 4 weeks in the mountains of with pure clean air, which is true. All of that is very real. And I'm only really working 4 days a week, and it's 4 hours each day. It's no big deal. I'll still have 3 days every week to recuperate. But somehow it felt really intense, this body of work that I was bringing forth into this beautiful environment. Um, so there were so many reasons to say, okay, I got to reward myself for this 1 week to be accomplished and to see what has happened with the students. Then it was, another week of, so the weekend goes that way. But my God, taking accountability for that, okay, my eating disorder of lack of quantity control hasn't gone away. I still have work to do there. That is something that really calls for some deep-seated healing, you know. So I thought, okay, I'm going to really find what that is. So I choose to allow my body to express itself in the way it does. Um, to uncover whatever remains to still be healed within me from this lifetime or another. That allowed me to not beat myself up and let go of the guilt part. I'm sure it allowed my body to enjoy what it was ingesting, right? And I did uncover that there is an inner child healing that is called for, that goes back to even the point of birth of even the point of my own birth. Because I was born right at the beginning of the 7th month. My mother had slipped and fallen in the bathroom, and her waters broke as a result. So I have had so many relatives say to me, "Oh, we held you in the palm of our hands. You were so little and stuff." I'm like, "Oh my God, I should be in the incubator, and these people are holding me in the palm of their hands." what is this? And I'm sure I was like desperate and not being able to feed myself to the extent that I was meant to at that time. So there was like there was those emotional experiences that people aren't even aware that babies go through is what I found was trapped in my body. So if there's food, then famine is a given in the world of that little child. So if you're presented with food, you go stuff yourself because famine is really the reality. And that wasn't logically, it didn't make any sense. But when I uncovered this inner child piece as a result of accepting this consequence of, okay, I'm going to go with the flow and see what remains to still be healed. This young one is like, survival is so threatened of this child aspect of mine, that it's still, healing is still work in progress. And I was guided by my intuition and spirit that July 25th, give us until July 25th, to accomplish this. So I'm looking forward to the end of this. Let's see what emerges. But that discovery occurred because I did what I'm saying here, which is really owning the consequence. And from that, this understanding.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's continue. The ninth one is the ninth anchor is unlock to unleash. Unlock. So it's actually unhook, not unlock. Unhook to unleash. This was huge, huge, huge. So before, scenario would be like we are very attached to the outcome. We are very attached to a role. We are very attached to entitlement. We're very attached to a validation. So and so should behave this way. This person is so spiritual, and how can they be so commercial? So when you have any such truism that you hold very tightly to, where the reality isn't quite matching this truism that you've made up for yourself, you are attached to the outcome. You are hooked to the outcome. You're hooked to a role that you're playing. And therefore, validation junkie emerges and expresses itself through you. For me, I was like, in the work that I have been doing here, we have our prejudices, around women being forced to cover themselves and all of that. Well, I really could not have made any difference to anybody's lives with what I was teaching if I had held on to that prejudice, or even held on to I will know that I've succeeded if these women decide to uncover themselves. Well, relax. I literally just relaxed and let go of filters, let go of all attachments to any outcomes. I even let go of that I'm in the role of a teacher, and therefore I always have to be on top of what I'm teaching. I actually realized that I am the biggest learner, and this 4-week experience is here for me to learn about stuff that I still have within myself that becomes a truism and expresses itself in a variety of ways. And I just said, okay, great. At this point, my action is to teach. And through my teaching and how I interact with the students, I'm going to learn. I became like detached from what my role is there. I knew what my intention was and operated from that resolve in terms of the impact I wanted to have. I wanted to share with each and every one a way in which they could experience aliveness for themselves and live the life they love. Teaching them various ways in which, whenever things come in the way, they can get over it. It also gave me a wonderful understanding of how important it was for me to get the flow book done and completed. Because I was very aware of what I had taught, what was missing, and therefore what the consequence would be if I don't address what's missing. I was able to accept that, okay, these pieces I will not be able to have the time to do. So therefore, this is the consequence. I choose the consequence, allowed me to move forward, eyes wide open. So this unhook to unleash, the before scenario where you're attached to the outcome, role, validation, entitlement, what becomes possible for you when you unhook yourself from those attachments is, yeah, you become detached. But actually what happens is you become engaged. You are present. You are connected. You are free flowing. That's what happens. The challenge that you're likely to experience is the fear of becoming invisible or irrelevant. You know, there is huge amount of reverence for teachers here. So me saying I am a student of living my life and I'm going to show up every single day as a student of life, performing that which I'm meant to perform. I mean, I didn't have this fear at all, but it could have come up if I had remained attached. So just choosing to be a student in amidst this peer group of the youth as students really allowed me to make a much deeper, much bigger contribution. And they contributed massively to me too. I absolutely was not invisible or irrelevant. So rather than dealing with using a process to let go of fear of becoming invisible or irrelevant, I just took it out from a root level, unhooked myself. And that unleashed me. The benefit, I saw it play out, magnetic energy, unstoppable creativity. Which continues. Cord cutting visualization is a really useful practice that you could do. And it literally is just visualizing, getting into a state of meditation, connecting the golden cord to the core of the earth, releasing all that doesn't serve you, and then allowing yourself to reveal wherever there are cords that are connecting you to any attachments that don't serve you anymore. And in your visualization, you imagine as if you have a pair of scissors and you're cutting off those cords and just releasing them, knowing that the attachment of these cords to your body, when you release the attachments, those cords will just simply dissolve and you will emerge unleashed. In this age of brilliance, any of these visualization practices are so yummily potent that you experience the impact immediately. The time collapse impact of this, unhooking yourself, is your focus sharpens, your vision clears. And vibrant vitality just starts to move through your cells. So there's a pace and momentum and life force that is propelling you forward, fueled by your vision. I'm going to continue with the next one, Sunny. Okay. The 10th anchor is, the 10th anchor is all emotions are welcome. All emotions are welcome. So the before scenario of repression, avoiding, fearing emotions or fearing the expression of emotions, you can't imagine the amount of life force that is required to enable this to happen. Repression, avoidance, and fearing emotion. It's as if the appetite of keeping that repressiveness going is your life force. Massive depleter of life force. Nothing to repress at all. So once you take this on, where all emotions are welcome, whatever you may be experiencing, they are welcome. You enter a liberated state. You feel fully, without collapse or judgment. The freedom to feel fully. You literally feel the feel of your feelings. It brings you into this regenerative yumminess. You don't collapse anymore. Nothing collapses you. You can remain standing tall in any circumstances. And being in the present and what exists in the present moment is miracles. The challenge that you may experience is the unfamiliarity of emotional safety. This is not only personal, it is also cultural. And it could also be something to do with, whatever you might have been told as a family, growing up in your family. There is often some stuff that comes from past lives. So that unfamiliarity is a challenge that can happen. And all you are to do is, feel all emotions. What does unfamiliarity actually feel like? How does it express itself through your body? Just acknowledge until you can unconditionally accept all that is. There's a very, very sweet and a simple 3-minute practice that you can adopt. I call it the activation practice. It's the 3-minute feeling check-in. Name the feeling. Breathe into it. And just simply be. Feelings just automatically start to dissolve or amplify. But really, you get to a state of neutral very, very fast. The impact when that happens is unprocessed energy that may be blocked in your system, physical or in your field, just clears out. And where you may be stuck emotionally, like these emotional time loops, they dissolve. And that is what gives you that experience of being unleashed. So all emotions are welcome. I'm going to continue to the 11th one, 11th anchor, because I would like to complete it this time. This was an interesting one, which is desire is divine. The before scenario would be something like shame or suppression of inner longing. Just simply accepting that desire is divine, you enter a liberated state. But desire actually becomes your direction, not distraction. This is hugely liberating. You know, the challenge that you may experience is just the habit of guilt, you know, and that comes from a variety of conditioning, you know, based on how you have been brought up or what you choose to believe in. So it is guilt, conditioning, or confusion around wanting and sharing your want. Those things, those challenges may come up. Useful to, you know, to have a very simple activation practice. In your own journal, write down, what do I truly desire today? So what I've done is I have a list of I choose to believe. I stand in the center of the flourishing triad, in a state of harmony, expressing with humility what I choose to believe. And then in my activation practice, what do I truly desire today? I truly desire all of my beliefs to be realized today. So, because I mean, I can't add another practice and another practice right now. Or I'm choosing not to add another practice and another practice to what I already have. You know, so that's like a little bit of a shortcut that I have taken. You will decide whatever it is for you and the extent to which you feel the guilt of expressing what you desire. The impact is your desires become clarity. Your actions align, manifestation speeds up. The impact is super yummy. And it is this impact that creates, this is the time collapse impact that you have when manifestation speeds up. I'll complete the 12th one and then I'll bring you in, Sunny. Shall I keep going? Okay. The 12th one is no more pretending. Of course, it is no more pretending. Pretense is the biggest killer. Pretense is the Jack the Ripper, if you like, of liberation. And it has no space in a portal of liberation in the age of brilliance. Pretenses will dissolve. So you may be in a space before where you have that, you've chosen the habit of people pleasing, putting on a mask, performance mask, I call them. And these performance masks often hide the truth. You know? So that's a before scenario. When you just take on this particular anchor, no more pretending. The liberated state is unapologetic authenticity. Now you will experience, and you can experience, the challenge of fear, of disapproval or rejection. You know, feel the feeling, feel our emotions, feel the feeling, breathe into it until it dissolves and dissipates. There's a very simple practice that you can integrate in how you go about your day. One truth spoken a day. One truth that you might be hiding or not speaking about. Whatever that is. Even if you say it softly. This is an activation practice, you know, of releasing all pretenses. It's a big one. People don't do it. And the time collapse impact of this is coherence accelerates, congruence, resistance collapse. And that is what enables you to accomplish what it is that you intend to accomplish in your life. there's another little 12th one that I just want to say, which is, this whole idea of a prison is an illusion, feeling stuck in systems or relationships or expectations. All of that is being stuck in the past. The liberated state is you recognize that perception is what creates the imprisonment, and we often have this addiction to victimhood or blame. That is the challenge that you might experience with this one. And really all that is to do, all that a very good practice is to just ask the question, if I didn't need to, if I didn't have to, would I choose to do this? And develop that habit of, I choose to, as a way in which you express. The time collapse impact is freedom is reframed, new options appear, energy unbinds. So you've not come this far to wait. You did not awaken to your brilliance just to manage your limitations more politely. This is your moment of liberation, not in theory, not someday, but really now. You're not here to fix the past. You're here to dissolve the illusion that it still owns you. You're not here to chase freedom. You're here to anchor it, embody it, unleash it. In your walk, in your voice, in your breath, in your leadership, in your love, in how you show up, in your presence. This portal isn't just a passage. It is that permission slip. Permission that you give yourself, and a permission slip that has landed within you from the cosmos. Set it all down, the mask, the waiting, the proving, the pretending, the prison you forgot you built. Just set it down. You do not need more time. You don't need more truth. And the truth is that you already are free. So let today be the moment you stop circling your power and you step directly into it. Allow that next action of yours to be a liberated one, not from fear, not from habit, but from clarity of you anchoring and owning your brilliant self. Because when one leader liberates, 1,000 timelines collapse, and your holographic connection to thousands of souls awakens. And that has an impact on all of those amazing beings. The entire field of possibility expands. You are that revolution. You are the liberation. You are the brilliance the world has been waiting for. Now just go live it, Go anchor it and let the age of brilliance unfold through you. This is the gift of this portal of liberation.
So we have some notes that came through saying this is their favorite age of brilliance, and I must concur. I completely agree. I was thinking, guys, I'm so happy you're all with me tonight because Mynoo decided to speak exactly to me, so I'm glad you could all join. But I think she was talking to all of us. My kids, who are adult people, have been begging me lately in the last 3 months. We've gone through this whole thing. Don't pretend, Mom. Just give us the truth. And I'm like, well, but I'm explaining, I'm clarifying. They're like, you're saying what you think we want to hear. You say that just tell us the truth, Mom. Don't pretend. And when you said that, I thought, oh my God, because it's so relaxing. It's scary. I find myself immediately coming to something what I call harmonizing the situation. And so I realize that's what I do, but cracking through that because people bleeping feel it. And it feels inauthentic. It feels like a lie. It feels like we're hiding something. It feels like they're not connecting with us. And so I think that's so incredibly powerful. I'm just getting the chills. And So I would love to do a whole hour on that. And also, so thank you for that. And that desire is divine. And I love that after you said, just simply accept it already. So can we all, friends out there, just get it that it's okay? Desire is divine. And I think that is rocking because so many of us in the spiritual world, and I'll be brief because I know we're over, have know how to manifest. We know the tools, we've had the things, we've read the books, it's just, what do we want? What is it we want? What is, at this point in our lives, like we have a bunch of stuff. We've done a bunch of stuff. We've learned a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
What now? What next? What are we doing? Why are we still here? And so it's about getting creative, giving ourselves like an opening to feel into our desire. Whoa, how scary, but how exciting. And to think of it as divine is a permission to say, yes, it's not selfish. It's not like a whole bunch of stuff. I don't even have to say what it's not. It is divine. And all of our teachings, bye-bye, it's divine. Just simply accept it, friends. So I know we have to go, and so maybe I shall just say thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome again. I'm Sunny Chase. I don't think I introduced myself tonight. And Mynoo, just go ahead, have a little pizza on me and enjoy. And we'll see you next week.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I head back to Dubai today after 4 weeks, which is great. After completing the 4 weeks, I was in Dubai last weekend, and then to India, and then to Berlin. So I'm looking forward to all of that. Thank you,
So,
everyone. Bye.
thank you, thank you. Bye, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Good night.
Fantastic.
Good morning.
Hi. Good
Good
morning.
morning, good afternoon, and good evening to us all.
Thank you. Bye, Sunny.